Hi there, it's Shelley Penny from Twisted Phish Artisan Jewelry, and today I'm going to take you through how to create your leather bracelet from the Leather Bracelet Kit. And this is the kit that looks like this, that you would have purchased either on my website or at the Galleria in Ormocto. And the Leather Bracelet Kit has 3 color variations. There's Mocha Loca, which is on the label, and that's also this bracelet. There's Very Berry, which is the one we're going to create today. And then there's Blue Bliss, which is the one that I have on right here. So let's get started. Now, first of all, I'm going to mention that not included in your package are a pair of scissors, and you can just use manicure scissors out of your manicure, or if you have regular scissors, that's fine. This is just to cut the leather cord. You'll need a pair of tweezers or a pair of chain nose pliers or something just to grab onto the end of the leather if it gets caught up and you need something to pull it with. And you might need some glue. I'm just using a little tube of super glue here. And just about any kind of glue will do, Gorilla Glue or anything that you have at home. Probably not the Elmer's kids glue. That probably won't do the trick, but something you want something that'll hold a knot in leather. All right. So also in your kit, there's a surprise charm, and every charm in every kit is different. In the kit today, we have this cute little butterfly charm. Isn't that cute? And I can use that on my bracelet, or I can choose to use it just on a chain hanging around my neck. You can do whatever you want to do with that. All right. So also in your kit, you should have 1 clasp. You should have 1 piece of leather cord like this. You should have 9 beads. So we've got 3 of the burgundy, and we've got 3 pink, and we've got 3 fuchsia. Put that one aside. So you'll have 9 beads in total. You should have 9 spacers here, and that's what those are. And you should have your instructions, which look like this. And I will be reading from them and creating the bracelet as we go. So now I have suggested that if you don't know the size of your bracelet, sometimes it helps to just take a piece of string like this perhaps, and just wrap it around your wrist loosely till you have the approximate fit. Give yourself an extra inch like so to make up for the beads, right? And this you're going to use to measure. So and then I'll cut it right here, the scissors. I'm just going to measure again just to be sure. All right, so I'm going to cut with an overlap of about an inch. So I'll cut that bit off right there. And then I recommend that you just lay it out in front of you on the table, that you can have it somewhere close just for reference. It's not something that it has to be exact or anything. It's just something you're going to use as reference as you're getting closer to the finished part of your bracelet. All right, so I'll just set that aside for now. My scissors back, and then you're going to start with the leather. So I want you to take the leather out of the kit, and it will be all coiled up to fit in your little kit. I want you to just gently run it through your fingers a little bit to straighten it out a little bit, just to try and get some of the twists and turns out of it. Doesn't have to be perfectly straight, probably not going to be perfectly straight, but just to and be very careful with the leather, because you can see that this leather is very thin, and if you pull on it too hard, it will break. It won't break with just a little tug like that, but if you're really pulling on it with the knots, it will break. So be mindful of that. All right. So once you've got your bracelet unfolded and stretched a little bit, pick up your clasp and just insert one end through the hole like so, and then slide your clasp right down to the center of the cord. So I'm bringing the cord ends together here, and then I'm going to make sure that that's slid right down there. Then you bring your two pieces together of your leather and you're going to tie an overhand knot. Now an overhand knot is the kind of knot you tie when you're tying a balloon. So I'm going to take it, wrap it around my two fingers, over the top, remove my fingers, slide that piece of leather in till you have a knot like that. And then I want the knot to come down as close to the end of the clasp there as possible. So I'm just going to slide that down as I'm pulling the other end out. I want it to be a fairly neat little knot. So just very gently slide it down until you have a knot right at the end of the cord like so. All right. So the next thing you're going to do is using your scissors, I want you to take both ends of your cord and cut a little bit off of it so that you're cutting at an angle so that the end of the leather comes to a point. All right, so I'm just going to go down here like this. And cut it so it's at a point. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Just cut that at an angle like so, so you have a point. That point actually came out a little bit nicer than the other one. Doesn't have to be precise again. This is a very simple project that looks beautiful when it's finished. So now, since I've made this bracelet several times, I have already decided that I like the look of my bracelet with 7 beads on it. You might choose to use 6 or 5 beads. You might choose to use all of the beads and spacers. It's entirely up to you and the look that you like. I like to have a little bit of space between the beads rather than having them bunched all up together. So that's why 7 beads for me has been the perfect size. All right, so we're going to slide a bead onto one of the leather cords and slide it all the way down till it's up next to the knot. And then you're going to take a spacer, and the spacer is going to go over both cords. So I'm going to take a spacer and put one end through the hole, and then I'm going to put the other end through the hole, and this is where you might need the tweezers. Sometimes the hole of the spacer is a little bit snug, so I put the point in there like that, right into the end, and then just sort of twist it around until it comes out the other end. There you go, and you can see that out the other end there. And then if I need to, I might just take my tweezers and grab onto the end of that like that and just pull it through to where I can get my fingers around it. And then I'm going to take this spacer, and I'm just one at a time so I don't damage the leather very much. I'm going to slide the spacer down to close to the bead. I don't want it to be exact. I like there to be a little bit of room here. Now, one of the things you're going to notice when you get down there is that your cord is crisscrossed here, and that's all right. It actually wants to do the crisscross in the spacer, and that works out just fine for me. So I'm going to put my next bead on, and I want my next bead on to go opposite of that. So let's take another bead and put it on this cord. And you'll notice because the leather crisscrosses in the spacer, you're almost always going to be putting your bead on the same cord. But that's okay. You just kind of have to let the leather do what the leather wants to do. All right, so now we're going to put on another spacer. Remember, you're putting both cords through the spacer and only one cord through the bead for this particular style. Put the point up against the hole and just gently twist that cord a little bit back and forth until you work it through. You can see it working through on the other side there. Once you get it through enough, take your tweezers, grab onto it, and give it a little tug until you can get your fingers around it. There we go. and then just work that spacer by pulling the cords up one by one down close to the bead. All right, so there we go. We've got 2 beads on. Now you're just going to repeat that until we get down to the end. So we put a bead on, and now we're going to put on a spacer. I actually put that bead on the wrong side, didn't I? I like the bead to be on the alternate side. There we go. Put the bead on there. And put a spacer on. Pick up the other cord and wiggle it through the hole. And sometimes they go through a little bit easier than others. That one went through and I don't need the tweezers at all. And that happens. But it's nice to have them on hand in case you do. So there we go. 3 beads on. Now we're back. If I'm going to follow my pattern, I'm going to put a light pink bead on. Now at this point, because I know that I use 7 beads, I could decide to put the butterfly on, my charm that I had in my pack. So why don't we do this? We'll put the butterfly over both, and then we can put another little dust bunny on there. There, if I wanted to, I could put that there, and then I could put another spacer there and just use that in place of the bead and put another spacer there. All right, so I think that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to fix that cut there. I don't like the way that cut. And I thought maybe it was going to drive me crazy. All right, let's get a nice point going on here. There we go. Let's try that again. So we put one cord into the spacer hole, and then we put the other cord into the spacer hole. Now if you decide not to use your charm for this bracelet, you can totally ignore that you have a charm there, and you can continue with your pattern. All right, just work that leather spacer down. All right, we'll go there, give it a little bit of space. Now next, I want my next bead to go over on this side, and you know, I think I'm going to do this pattern backwards. So I'm going to put the bead on. And then I'm going to put this end of the cord in the spacer hole. And then I'm going to wiggle this end of the cord into the spacer hole. And that one slid through really well too. There we go. And then slide that spacer down. And then we'll carry on with our pattern. So we'll take this, I'm making this pattern backwards, so I'm going to go with the dark pink. Every once in a while, you might get one that struggles to get in the hole. Just take your time. These beads all have 1 millimeter hole, and it's 1 millimeter leather, so it's a nice fit. Not too big, it's not too small. It will go through. Every once in a while you might have to stick a toothpick down into the hole if the coating has blocked the hole. In this case I'm using polymer clay beads, And so the holes, for the most part, I found them to be quite consistent. All right, so let's go with a spacer again. So we've got one cord into the hole of the spacer. We're going to wiggle the second cord through. All right, now we'll take the light pink bead and we'll put that through there, and then we'll put on the final spacer. And that should be long enough for me, but I'll show you how I'm going to test it. All right, so now I want to see if this is going to be the right bracelet, the right bracelet length for me. All right, so the bracelet is going to go, as you can see from here, there's one section left that's about 1 inch long that you hook your clasp into. So I can cheat here because I have another bracelet to lie it up against, so I can see that that's about right. It's a little bit short, but I can always move these down if I don't want to add another bead, or I can add another bead, another spacer. It's entirely up to you how you decide you want your bracelet to look. So here's the piece of leather that I cut earlier that I need my bracelet length to be, okay? So, and this was a fairly loose fit. So down to the end of that bracelet, slide all the way down here. So you can see that I have this much to tie my knot in it like this. So that's going to be the perfect length. So here's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to tie an overhand knot right here. All right, so put your 2 fingers together, tie the knot, and move that knot right down to the spacer as close as you can, and just cinch it snug. You don't have to go real tight. And then I just want to measure one more time. So I'm going to put it actually around my wrist, and I'm going to see on the other side that is going to be just about perfect. All right. So I want to tie the other knot out here so that I have a space here where my clasp can hook onto. So I'm just going to come out to the end here. I'm going to tie another overhand knot. And just going to cinch that up. And the overhand knot again is just like tying a balloon. There we go. So that part is finished. I can put it around again and just make sure it's going to fit. And you see how that clasp is going to fit right in between here, like that. I probably could put it on. Normally when I put my bracelets on, I hold them up against my body, so it's not so easy for me to put it on here. So there's a couple of things I can do finally. I know those knots are in the right place now, so I'm just going to snug them up a little wee bit. And then what I have done with my other bracelets is I've put a little bit of glue right on the knot right here. I don't know if you can see that or not. Right at the end of my fingertips, there's a little dab of glue right there on the knot, and that prevents that knot from slipping. The leather can be a little bit slippery. I also put a little dab of glue right there on that knot just to keep it in place and to keep it from slipping. It's up to you if you want to do that. Once you dab your glue here and here to make sure that's not going anywhere, then you can take your scissors and trim off any excess to wherever you want to trim it, and you're finished. You've got a beautiful bracelet that you did at home yourself without any tools at all. So there you go. So this is the Very Berry kit. As you can see, the kits are here. This one is the Very Berry. This one is the Mocha Loca kit. And there we go. And then this one is the Very Berry Leather Bracelet Kit from Twisted Phish Artisan Jewelry, and you can find your kits either on my website, www.twistedphish.com, and Phish is spelled P-H-I-S-H. So I'm going to show you my business card here. I will also be taking some kits into the Galleria in Ormocto, and they'll be in there by tomorrow, and tomorrow's Wednesday. So I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy your kit.